Paint can really transform a room, especially if you're on a budget. I know you've heard this before, but it's so true. I plan to do way more with this bathroom eventually, but my current budget prohibits it. So for now, I'm just going to paint the whole thing. I'm going to chalk paint the cabinets. I'm going to change the hardware on the cabinets. And I may remove these builder grade mirrors. I haven't decided yet. I might just frame them. I'm going to do something with them, but that's going to make a huge difference. And I paid $10 for the paint. Another tip that I forgot to mention was always make sure you have baby wipes handy. Baby wipes are awesome for cleaning up everything. But if you drop paint on the tile or on the floor, I don't use a drop cloth personally in a bathroom. I always use one in bedrooms, but I don't use it in the bathroom. But if a blob drops, I'll just clean it up really quickly and save the deep cleanup for later. And if it falls on the trim, if you are cleaning a bedroom, always make sure you have a drop cloth if there's carpet. But if it falls on the trim, these are great for cleaning that up too. One last tip is if you are trying to save some money, talk to the paint guy in the paint department. Ask them if there are some sales coming up. There might be one in a few days, or there might be like buy 2 paints, get $10, $15 off. And maybe it'll inspire you to paint a room that you weren't planning to, or even go ahead and buy the paint for a room that you were planning to paint down the road if it saves you a significant amount of money. This blog in general is on life hacks. I'm not a professional painter, but I wanted to show you how my daughter is obviously in the bathroom with me. I wanted to show you how you could paint yourself if you're a stay-at-home mom like me trying to save a few bucks and you don't mind if it's absolutely perfect, although I think it comes out really well. I've done a few rooms, and if you're careful and you do a good cleanup job, I think it's come out really well. So I will show you what I do. I find painting to be really easy, actually, using the method that I use, and so hopefully this will help you. So the first thing is obviously paint clothes. I wish I had someone filming this for me, but since I don't, I'll do the best I can. I just pick any old outfit. Always, like, I have my old sweatpants on. Make sure you got stuff on that you don't mind if it gets ruined, because it will. So the first thing you do with the paint, this is probably sort of obvious, is you open the paint can, whatever latex paint you have, and you stir it up really well. You always want to stir it up really well because some of the pigment or color goes to the bottom of the can in between painting. And you can just wipe that off, the stick. I'm going to save the stick because I'm going to do something a little different. I usually have a tray to pour the paint into, but I'm not going to do a big section right now, so I'm going to cheat. I'm not going to use a tray. I do painting in sections because I feel like if I had to tackle a whole room, that would be too overwhelming. So I just go section by section and I do what I can get done. And I just find that it's not stressful. Like, I'll do one wall one day, the first coat, or I'll do maybe 2 walls, and then I'll come back and do the other wall the next day or something like that. I do it piece by piece. It just doesn't seem as overwhelming. And if you're planning to do that, a little tip is if you're using a sponge or a paintbrush that you plan to use within a day or two, instead of washing it all out, you can stick it in a plastic bag and make sure, it's really tight, closed tightly, and get the air out, and it will stay moist. If you leave it out in the air, it will dry, and you'd have to clean it all. But if you put it in the bag, it stays moist for the next time you use it, and you want it to stay moist. So that's what I've done. I've already painted the first coat on the entire bathroom, as you can see. And if you can see, I don't do the trim or the ceiling right away. I actually save that for last because that's really hard. Most of the time I make my husband do that part. But I just leave the area next to the trim until the very end. That's the last thing I paint. Okay, so you take your either new sponge or your sponge that you've saved from the last time you painted or your paintbrush, my best advice is use a sponge. I love these paint sponges. The paint goes on really smooth, and I just don't have any issues with paint lines. I never see paint lines on any of the walls. I will show you. And I've painted several rooms, and it comes out really smooth, as you can see. No paint lines, and as you see, I wait until the end to do the ceiling. Okay, so let's go back over here, and so now I have my sponge, and you take one of these handles that you can pick up at any hardware store and your sponge, and you slide it onto the handle. Sometimes I actually just use the sponge without the handle. I don't mind getting paint all over myself. And sometimes the handle will be weird. Like this one's a little bit loose and it will slide off. So once in a while, I'll just hold the sponge by itself. Like I said, I'd usually have a tray for the paint, but I don't today because I'm just going to do a small section for the video. So I'm just going to scoop out some of this paint and put it right onto the sponge, okay? So I just scooped out some of the paint, put it right under the sponge. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to show you how I paint. When I paint a bathroom, I take off all the outlet covers, as you can see, but anything like the towel bars and things like that, I don't take off because they're really easy to clean. If you get paint on them, and I did get a bunch of paint, the latex paint comes off really easy, so that doesn't bother me. Alright, so all you do with the sponge is put it right on the wall and just pull it down. And sometimes it'll leave like a little blob of paint, and the sponge is great because you can just, the sponge is great because if you did leave a blob, you can just go back up and smooth that blob out. You're just pulling the paint down and making it look very smooth. Okay? So like I said, I had already done the first coat. Now I will just do this whole big section. If I get any on the mirror, it doesn't matter because the mirror can be cleaned off really easily. Same with this towel bar. And look how nice and smooth that goes on. One tip that I forgot to add at the beginning of the video was my paint. This blog is all about frugal advice, and I wanted to paint my bathroom gray, but I happened to come across this color in the discount paint section. Almost every hardware store will have one. Lowe's has one, Home Depot has one, and they have cans of paint that they mixed improperly or someone just never picked up, and they discount them heavily. So this color, I wanted a dark gray. This is a little bit more blue gray that I initially wanted, but it was similar and I like it, and it was $10 down from $35, excuse me. So I got a gallon of paint, which will cover way more than this bathroom. I could probably paint another room with this, and it was $10. And I go, actually, every time I go to Lowe's or Home Depot, I visit that paint section, the discount paint section, and I like to chalk paint, so I just started delving in chalk paint. So if there's the small sample size paints, I'll pick those up on discount, or the quart size paints, I'll get those. And then, of course, if there's a gallon size and I want to paint a room, it's a really great deal. So that's my little frugal tip for you.